Have you ever felt like you're stuck in something that you just can't quite fix? No matter how hard you try or what you try to do, Chiron, the wounded healer, knows that feeling all too well. His story is a powerful reminder that sometimes our greatest strength comes from our deepest wound. Chiron's story holds a profound lesson for each of us. We all have wounds, whether they are emotional, psychological, or even physical. And while we might spend years to avoid or ignore or fix these wounds, Chiron's myth suggests that it's in facing and accepting our deepest vulnerabilities that we truly begin to heal. This is where Chiron's placement in your natal chart becomes so powerful in astrology. Chiron is known as the wounded healer, and it represents a part of your chart where you may carry a deep wound, often one that seems impossible to fully heal. But here's the thing, Chiron's placement also shows you where your greatest potential for growth lies. The area in life where Chiron resides is often where you have the ability to find some incredible wisdom and compassion and insight, not just for yourself, but for others too. And by healing yourself, you are able to help others with their wounds. Speaking of which, are you looking at wanting to start an astrology business so that you can help others figure out what is going on in their life? Maybe you could offer some readings, or maybe you just simply want to deepen your personal understanding of astrology. Well, I've created an exciting new series just for you. And in this series, I deep dive into specific objects in space like Chiron to give you this comprehensive and insightful guide. Now, these mini guides are perfect for anyone who is learning astrology or just wants to keep a quick reference guide in their personal library. Because believe me, I've spent countless hours studying Chiron. I've read books, I've watched videos, I've talked to others about it and how it's played out in their chart. And I took all of this knowledge and I made it into a nice, neat, concise edition. And it gives you an overview of what Chiron is. And I also, in this book, I go over what the object is in space. I go over the mythology story. I go over what Chiron means in the birth chart. And we even touch on different healing strategies that are available for this wound. You know, it really is the perfect go-to source for anyone that is wanting to expand their astrology knowledge, whether that is for personal growth or if you are looking to take this into a professional use. So if you are ready to explore Chiron, then consider purchasing this book. Also, I fell in love with the cover. Oh my gosh, can you see it in the background? I flipped it over onto the inside, so I turned it in on the page. I love how it turned out. There's even a companion journal available that has equally as cute artwork. Oh my gosh, it's so stinking cute, my little buttercups. This journal has 31 guided journal prompts that help you reflect on your inner wounds. It is a fantastic investment to make for yourself because you can learn a lot about yourself within a month if you wrote just a journal entry every single day. So go check them out because they are just too cute to pass up. And honestly, they will be a part of a series that will just have as cute as artwork on these covers. I am totally in love with how these turned out. But also, not just for the artwork, these mini guides are nice for quick references if you should ever need them about Chiron. But in this video, I wanted to go over what Chiron is in astrology. Now, Chiron represents one of your most tender spots in your energy. And I know the sign does have an influence on the Chiron energy, but I have found that the house placement plays a far more critical role in how the Chiron wound plays out, as well as how it is aspected with things. So why does Chiron represent our most tender spot in our chart? Well, let's look at the mythological story of Chiron. So Cronus was this powerful Greek titan in Greek mythology, okay? And he was a player. So let's just say if the Maury show happened during the Greek mythology days, Cronus would definitely be on the Maury show. Anyways, he had many affairs, and including one with this beautiful nymph named Valira. Now, in order to approach her and not scare her half to death, Cronus transformed into this beautiful horse. I mean, he was stunningly gorgeous. He was just a real masculine, tough-looking horse. And, well, he galloped up to Valira one day, and she was just magnetically pulled to him. Does any of y'all twin flames out there know what I'm talking about? Anyways, completely unaware of his true identity, Valira just falls head over heels in love with him. Are there any empaths out there that are just unaware of their narcissist partner's true identity before you fell head over heels in love with them? Anyways, Valira did discover that Cronus did tell a little lie, but it was too late. She was pregnant. Yep, don't you just hate when that happens? Anyways, they had a child, and they welcomed to the world little Chiron, a centaur. He was half man, half horse, and he was born. Yay! Everything was great until Valira went to hold Chiron and saw him for the very first time. She was appalled. He was the ugliest thing she ever did see. I mean, he was a centaur, for heaven's sakes. He was half man, half horse. There was absolutely no way she was keeping this baby. Besides, his dad lied to her to even get her to sleep with him, and he basically tried to trap her by getting her pregnant. So she decides that the best thing to do is to abandon Chiron and just reject him. So she's just not interested in raising such an ugly, appalling little child. Now, because of this rejection and abandonment, as you can imagine, it left a mark on poor little Chiron. You know, it was the beginning of a deep wound that he would carry with him the rest of his life. Can you imagine a mom calling a baby ugly? Poor Chiron. But Chiron's fate took a positive turn. So when the god Apollo took him in and he started teaching him the arts of healing and music and archery and prophecy, and Apollo even got his twin Artemis to teach Chiron how to shoot the bow and arrow. And because of all of this attention, Chiron grew into this wise and compassionate young man. He was known for his healing abilities to both gods and mortals. Now, this is impressive because Chiron was a centaur, and centaurs, well, you know, they're wild. I mean, look at your Sagittarius friends if you don't believe me. They are represented by the centaurs. Centaurs like to have fun and be optimistic. They like to have their freedom, and they are not afraid to speak their mind. So they can be seen as unruly to some other signs. But anyways, Chiron continued healing and teaching others, and he even made some friends while doing this, okay? And some of his friends actually invited him to their wedding, which he was more than happy to go to because he actually knew both of them. So anyways, these people came to party, okay? They figured they were only getting married once, so they had plenty of wine available for the guest. Nothing could possibly go wrong with a bunch of unruly, chaotic centaurs at a giant wedding celebration with unlimited wine, right? Well, of course, one of the little centaurs started talking to another little centaur, and they start arguing, and one tells the other to back up what he's saying, and well, the centaur actually backs up what he says. Definitely reminds me of my little Sagittarius friends. A fight breaks out among the drunken centaurs. Now, mind you, there's all kinds of other people at this wedding celebration. It's not just centaurs. I mean, heck, even Hercules was there. Well, you know, the centaurs are disrupting things. They are fighting. They are ruining everything that's in their vicinity at this wedding. And Hercules has just had absolutely enough. So he starts shooting at the crowd. And no one calmed down. So he decides he's going to dip his arrow in the poison of a venomous snake. And before shooting it into the crowd, he takes the tip of his arrow and starts slowly dipping it into the venom. And then he pulls it out and he slowly pulls back on the bow and releases. The arrow goes into the crowd and it hits someone. Unfortunately, it was our poor little friend Chiron. And because this venom was from a particular snake, the wound could never be healed. And as if Chiron's life wasn't bad enough, his dad was a Greek god who transformed into a horse to lure his mom into conceiving a child. So his dad was immortal. And since Chiron was part of his seed, he was also immortal. So day in and day out, Chiron lived with this pain, the wound of this poisonous venom in his body. The pain became torturous to Chiron, and he lived in agony. He wanted relief. You know, what was the point of living forever if you were going to do so in pain? Now, in his desperation, Chiron traded his immortality to free Prometheus, who was a titan who was subjected to endless torment because he taught humans, he gave fire to humans. And after the trade was completed, Chiron was allowed to be relieved of his pain. Chiron's mythology story is a powerful metaphor for understanding the concept of wounds in our own natal chart. In astrology, you know, Chiron is often called the wounded healer, and its placement in a natal chart points to a core wound or area in life where we may feel vulnerable or inadequate. And the most unfair thing about Chiron is you have to heal this incredibly painful wound on your own, with zero support or understanding from anyone around you. And you literally scratch and crawl every hard-earned inch out of a hole. And you get out and you are incredibly rewarded by healing the wounds, that you are actually able to make an impact on others and go forth and help them. And you can be other support when they are facing the same things that you had to face on your own. And it all seems incredibly unfair. But I can promise you, when you get to the other side of things and you get yourself dug out of the hole, it is the most euphoric, incredible feeling, because it's not something that anyone can do. A lot of people will not be able to accomplish that in this lifetime, and you can get satisfaction in knowing if you sow the seeds that are providing support and validation for others going through a tough situation that you had to go through, then you will reap an incredible harvest. Chiron really does represent the wound that you can turn into wisdom. Now, if you want a more detailed, in-depth perspective on how your Chiron energy may play out, then be sure to watch my videos that are Chiron through the houses, where we go into each house placement in greater detail. Or you can get a natal chart reading by a trusted astrologist. There are different healing strategies you can use to help heal your Chiron wound as well. You know, I have found journaling is a fantastic technique to help you unravel your Chiron wound. It lets you get your thoughts on paper, and with the proper prompts, you can get not only your thoughts out, but plan a detailed version of what a healed version of yourself looks like. And you can plan a way to get into alignment of being that person. And in the chaotic world that we live in today, it is so nice to take some time to invest in ourselves and to figure out our own wounds and our thoughts associated with those wounds and our feelings associated with those wounds. I like journaling because I feel like it's such an effective use of your time. In order to heal the wound, you do have to face the wound, and journaling makes you face the wound, but come up with a battle plan on how to heal the wound. And I don't know, it may not be for everyone, but journaling has helped me tremendously in life. It helps me process my thoughts. Another great healing strategy that I have found in my journey is meditation. Meditation can be used to help locate the wound and can help discover what that wound is. Find a nice, quiet place. Focus on your breathing and guide yourself to locate the wound. If you need help doing this, there is no problem at all. I have a completely free wounded healer meditation that I will leave a link to in the description below. You would be surprised at how much information comes to you when there is stillness and silence all around you. Remember, anyone embarking on a journey to heal their Chiron wound is a brave soul to even go on the journey itself. And as we all know, when we awaken, we have to face these parts of ourselves that are really, really hard to face. Parts of us that are deeply hurt. And I'm serious when I say appreciate yourself if you are healing this aspect. Do something special for yourself if you ever do face this wound, because you are going on this journey of healing and you deserve it for putting in the work, especially for a wound as deep as Chiron. Just reflect back on Chiron's story and how he was rejected for his looks and abandoned for something that was beyond his control. Then in the end, he ends up being saved by teachers. But then if you really think about it, that made him an outcast among his peers because he wasn't the wild centaur and always wanting to be carefree and have fun and be unruly and chaotic. No, he was the centaur that took his spiritual work serious enough to work through the wounds and to become a healer to others. He became the complete opposite of what everyone else around him was. Can you imagine how lonely that feels? I'm sure some of you know exactly how Chiron feels. You are awakened and you do take your spiritual work serious and you do put in the work and you do want to make the world a better place. And everyone around you just cares about themselves or can't even resonate with anything that you're trying to teach them because they are not awakened. So you kind of feel like an outcast among your peers. I know that happened for me at a certain point, but I have been beyond blessed to connect to you guys now. I found my people that are like-minded, and that feels awesome in life. And this is a complete side note, but if your Chiron affects your communication or it creates a fear within you of speaking in front of others, then just please know to go ahead and start that YouTube channel. Don't have a fear of speaking your mind because you will be criticized. You will be pleasantly surprised that most people are actually nice and very supportive on YouTube. And if you have a wound in your communication, then just know your words are powerful enough to heal others. Anyways, that was just a complete little side note. The biggest thing that I take away after all the research that I did on Chiron was to extend your self-compassion. It is so important to have when healing this placement in your chart, my little buttercups. Mwah.